structures met at T4, T5 transverse plane. So, first thing, let's start from the superficial to deep. One thing is, when we talk about the cutaneous innervation, the purpose of telling is that this transverse plane here you're seeing, this is the plane passing through the sternal angle. So very important thing about the cutaneous innervation of the chest. So above to this, the skin of the chest, including the shoulders, above to the sternal angle, that is innervated by C3, C4, and that is through the supraclavicular nerves. So remember, this is by medial, intermediate and lateral supraclavicular nerves. This is medial, intermediate and lateral supraclavicular nerves which supply the skin of the chest, the front of chest above to the sternal angle. And the dermatomes here will be C3, C4, C3, C4. So remember, the flow of dermatomes, as I already told you, is along the preaxial border, and then it converges and returns back to the postaxial border. That's how the flow of dermatomes is. C3, C4, C5. C5 is the lateral side of the arm. C6 reaches to the thumb. C7 for the middle three digits. C8 for the little finger. T1 for the medial side of the arm, forearm, and T2 reaches to the medial side of the upper arm, or you can say the lateral wall of the axilla. So that was about the cutaneous innervation here. And another thing is T1. T1 you can see is here, that has already been stretched along with the brachial plexus. T2, it's through this intercostobrachial nerve that T2 reaches to the axilla. So which dermatome which you'll find here is T2, and here what you'll find is C4. So C4 meets T2, right? This means there are missing dermatomes at this level of sternal angle. C4 meets T2. The intervening dermatomes, the brachial plexus, that is C5 to T1, that has been pulled up and been taken up by the upper limbs. And one another important thing about the flow of dermatomes is, let's say this is the spine and this is the skin, and let's say this is T3, T4, T5, T6, T7, T8. And if I ask which nerve is this nerve will be 4th thoracic nerve or the 5th thoracic nerve. So you know that in thoracic segments, the nerves emerge from below to the corresponding vertebral level. So this is T4, this is T4. And let's say this T4, now it will innervate this much portion of the skin of the chest. Then this nerve coming out is which nerve? Now it's passing between T5 and T6. So this will be the 5th thoracic nerve. So this 5th thoracic nerve will innervate this much area of the skin of the body. And now let's say this is the next nerve. This is T6. So T6 emerges and innervates this much portion of the skin of the body. So what have you concluded from this? That the successive dermatomes, they overlap. Successive dermatomes overlap. This overlapping has a lot of significance. That's why remember the typical dermatomes in the human body is T3 to T6, because they have like a belt type innervation, like the entire trunk of the body is innervated circumferentially by both right and left sides. So this T5 you are seeing, this dermatome is this much area, the red color one, and that is being overlapped by T4 from above and partially being overlapped by T6 from below. So that means if there is only injury specific to T5's spinal segment, there will be no apparent sensory loss. There will be no apparent sensory loss. The area is being overlapped by T4 and T6, right? So, important fact concluded here that the successive dermatomes show overlapping, and if there is injury in this case, there will be no sensory loss. Apparently, there will be no sensory loss. Now come back to the sternal angle. If here there is injury of C4, it's or let's say there is an injury of T2, there will be a sensory loss because C4 will not override T2 and T2 will not override C4. So there will be no overlapping of dermatomes at this point. There are many other points as well. Remember this point here, that in the scrotum, L1 is anteriorly placed and S2, S3 is posteriorly placed. So in the scrotum also, or the labium majus, there also are the missing dermatomes. So in case of operating upon the scrotum or the perineum, you need to have that spinal anesthesia reach up to the L1 segment. Then only you get it completely anesthetized. So point number 1 is missing dermatomes. C4 joins T2. That's one important significance of this plane.